Thank you so much, everyone, for coming here today. Really appreciate it. Just quick introductions. My name is Shachar. I'm a data executive. I have over 20 years of experience as a data leader. In my last job, I was director of data engineering at Meta and London data engineering site lead. I've grown the data engineering function at Meta in London from about 4 data engineers when I started to more than 200 at the peak. I manage the data for a small portfolio of products in ads with a run rate of $7 billion a year. And in my last job, I was director of data engineering for all of Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger's trust and safety problems. Today, I'm an independent advisor. I help companies get value from their data, and I help individuals grow their career.
And hi, everyone. Wow, it's very loud. I'm Orr. I've been in the data space for over 10 years. Started as a data analyst, moved through software engineering, and through data engineering, and I currently manage data and machine learning engineering at Human, where we see 40% of the internet every day, which means that we see petabytes of data and have all the struggle that entails managing a lot of data.
Thank you. I want to try to start with a quick game. So if everybody can just stand up for a moment, and we'll see how quickly can we get you to sit back down. Let's see how it goes. So reality check exercise. Let's see how quickly we can do that. So sit down if you worked hard on something in the last year that ended up not being used. Okay. Sit down if you work on something in the last year that you've disagreed with and thought was the wrong thing to do. Please sit down if you worked on something last year that you had absolutely no idea why you're working on this. Please sit down if you weren't involved in a critical product or business decision that you thought you should be involved in. And please sit down if there was something, you had an idea for something you thought is going to be very impactful for your business or for your company, and you couldn't prioritize it because your stakeholders didn't think it was important enough. This is the reality of every data engineering team. This is literally what we have to go through.
Yeah, so, well, most of you, or I think almost all of you sat down. So apparently, we do have a problem here with data engineering teams, things that we do see often. So many data engineers are treated just like a service provider. They will get tasks and jobs that are very tiny, and they will not get the full context of what they're doing. A lot of the time, their opinion won't really matter. They won't have a seat at the table when important decisions are being made. Even when they contribute to very important projects, like projects that have a lot of visibility within the organization, their specific contribution might get unnoticed, as they don't have a place near the table to present what they've done or to voice their opinion, making them practically invisible to the organization. But it can be different. As data engineers and data engineering managers, we work closely with the data, meaning we have the space to really make important decisions, and we have the place to make an impact on the organization. So what does it look like and what does it feel like when you do lead your work? Well, first of all, your stakeholders respect your opinion. More than respect your opinion, they seek your opinion. When new initiatives arise, when new projects arise, you will get involved early so you can have your say on what should be done, what should be the direction. Other than that, you're also proactive, not just reactive. So instead of just reacting to things happening around you, you have your own initiatives that you're pushing. You're pushing back on some of the things that are being asked of you. You're asking questions. All of that leading to you having tangible impact on the business.
So I think you see Orr is painting a beautiful picture, and everybody is probably looking at it and saying, oh, that's cute, that's very nice, but how do I actually get there? And this is where a lot of data engineers struggle, because they really want this kind of picture. They really want to be involved. They want to be respected. They want to be proactive. So step number one, you have to understand the business. There's no way your stakeholders, the business, the product, there's no way your stakeholders are going to treat you as an equal partner if you don't know how to speak their language, if you don't have the same context, if you don't have an understanding, and if you just ask you have to speak with them in their language. You cannot just speak technical jargon all day long and expect them to engage with you, and this is where a lot of data engineers miss the plot. The second thing is to take ownership. I mean, personally, I feel like if I work on something and it's the wrong thing to do, then I'm basically failing at my job. And I take ownership of that. This is why I care about why are we doing things? What are we trying to solve? Who are we solving for? How do we know it's going to work? You have to take ownership. You have to be responsible for that and feel that level of responsibility. Because if you don't, and if you just sit and execute and just do what you're being told, then you're never going to be able to elevate yourself and to get to that next level. You need to build relationships and bridges. I mean, we've all probably sat down for lunch with a peer data engineer or with our manager. When was the last time you sat down for lunch with your product manager or with someone from the business or with a non-technical stakeholder, or just had dinner with somebody, or organized an outing for the team, and getting together with the non-technical stakeholders and really learning about who they are as a person, what do they do, what their goals in life, and so on and so forth. These relationships will matter a lot when you want to elevate yourself and when you want to get that respect and to be treated in that way. And building them early will just help you. You need to be opinionated. You need to think about what are the things that I personally care about and how am I going to drive that. You need to ask those questions. You need to challenge decisions. You need to challenge the product, to challenge the business, because you have opinions, because you're the closest person to the data. I mean, I see a lot of data professionals who are treated like a service provider, and people come to them and tell them, can you please build this report? This is insane. I mean, you don't go to your doctor and say, hey, doctor, can you please prescribe me this and that, medication or this operation? They're the professionals. I mean, they've learned for so many years and they have all the knowledge and context. So you go and you describe your symptoms, you tell them what is wrong, and then they tell you what you need to do. And somehow, as data professionals, we kind of accept it, that people come to us and they're very prescriptive and they just say, can you do that? And we just do it, no questions asked. So you have to be opinionated, you have to care about those things, you have to ask those questions. And don't shy away from difficult conversations. I mean, it's the difficult conversations that earn you the respect with your stakeholders, and not the doing everything they say. This is just pleasing them. And the last thing is to communicate. You always have to be communicating. I see a lot of people, a lot of data professionals who are almost like a black box. I had a data engineer, this is a true story, I had a data engineer on my team at Meta, and this guy, his data science counterpart, was telling me, I don't know what this person does. And I said, how can you not know? You literally sit next to them, you see them every day, like how can you not know? And not only that, they post about it internally, they send they communicate every week what they do. And the data scientist said, yeah, I know, I'm really sorry about that, but I don't understand their communication. I said, how is that possible? So I looked at their post, and literally what they do is they communicate the task numbers that they're working on. What is anyone going to do with that? That was useless, right? So you have to be good at communication, and I think that the reason some people, like some functions, product and some business stakeholders, they get the seat at the table is because they communicate in a different level, and you have to learn how to be a good communicator and an efficient communicator.
Okay. Let's talk about some real-life examples of the impact that you have when you do lead the work, when you do take ownership. So a few months back, I was added to a system design review. I guess it happens to a lot of people here. And we had a team working with MongoDB. The performance was really bad. They were doing a lot of updates to MongoDB, and in a very short period of time. So every 7 minutes, 10 minutes, they would take like a bulk of data, update into Mongo, and it didn't really scale well. So they were getting to a point where they thought that MongoDB is just not the right technology for us. We need to migrate. End of story. Now, migration is not necessarily a bad thing. I would say it's a necessary evil in some cases. But there's a lot of overhead coming with migrations. You're bringing new technology to the company. You need to do a lot of work to make sure that it scales, that it works. So before jumping straight into migration, as a data engineer in this situation, I really wanted to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So I raised a few questions. Like, why is the process currently so slow? What's causing it to be slow? Let's say we do migrate. What is different between what we currently do in MongoDB and the new platform? Can we do it over MongoDB? And I think the last and most important question is, does the current process of us just doing these frequent updates really serve the business? Like, do we actually need to do that? Now, we've talked about it a little, and quite fast, like, we figured out that the issue is not the database. Like, it's not a technical issue at all. The issue was, first of all, the data model that we had on top of MongoDB, which is an issue that we see as data engineers in general. Like, by changing the data model, by splitting it up in a more smart way, we could make the process much lighter. And the really impressive and interesting part is that looking at the process that has been running for 2 years, I think, in the company by that point, we understood that it's not really necessary to really update every 7 minutes or every 10 minutes. Like, nothing is really being updated that the business cares about. We can do these updates once a day, once every 12 hours, significantly reducing the load and avoiding unnecessary migration. So this is one example of where you understand the business and the needs, and you're asking questions and challenging existing state, you can avoid unnecessary work. But this is a small example. What happens on a much larger scale when it's the organization scale and not just like one team? So when I just became a team leader for data and machine learning engineering at Human, the number one complaint that I heard was about our data warehouse. People were saying our data warehouse is super slow, queries don't return, and the data is really scattered and unusable. Managers were coming to me and telling me that we pay a lot of money for that data warehouse, but we're not really getting our money worth, and we don't really extract knowledge in an efficient way from the data, especially not for the amount of money that we're paying for it. And I was expected to find a magic solution to everything. Fun. So they were expecting me to find this magical technical solution that will solve everything. Just bring in the right tool, just bring in the right infrastructure that will solve all of our problems. But before jumping into this like technical journey, I wanted to make sure that we're actually doing the right thing by betting on one technology versus another. So me and my team, we went ahead and we asked a lot of different stakeholders in the company that are currently using the data, what is the use case that you're trying to solve and what doesn't work for you? And surprise, surprise, the issue was not a technical issue per se. So the more information we gathered, the more we figured that, again, the data model and the way that we represent data and that we expose data to our data users is the main issue. And this is where we need to put all of our money, not into a new platform or a new technology. So, and essentially, we did want to also do a migration. So yeah, migrations are not always bad. We did figure out that there is place here for a migration as well. But the most important thing, the thing that will bring the most impact is not the technology itself. It's changing the data model and making it align more with the business. So here, by asking the right question and taking the initiative, we were able to influence a year and even like a 2-year plan for the whole organization, kind of like tweaking the organization towards a different direction completely.
The next example is Facebook Lite dashboard. So I had a data engineer on my team who worked on Facebook Lite. I'm assuming that most of you probably don't even know what Facebook Lite is, but Facebook Lite is a version of Facebook that is designed to run and perform on less advanced phones and less advanced devices. So most of the rendering is done on the back end, and then it just sent to the client, and the client layer is very thin, and it's good for developing countries where people don't always have access to the latest iPhone or the latest Android device. I had a data engineer who worked on Facebook Lite, and they were building a dashboard that compares the performance of ads on different dimensions on Facebook Blue and Facebook Lite. And they built the dashboard. It was a beautiful dashboard, and you could slice and dice by all sorts of different dimensions and play around with it and filter. And most data professionals, most data engineers would kind of stop there, build a dashboard, give it to a business user, and then leave it. But this data engineer was actually very curious, and they wanted to see what it looks like. So they started playing with the data, and they sliced the data by ad placement type. And they saw something very interesting. One of the specific placements, which is multi-image ad, which is ads that have multiple images on them, was generating a lot of revenue on Facebook and zero on Facebook Lite. Now, we always expect it to be lower on Facebook Lite, obviously, because it's very different app, different market, and less advertisers. But zero is a very specific number, right? That should raise alarms and bells to all of us. And when they saw that, they started asking the question, why is it not delivering? Initially, they thought maybe it's a data quality issue, maybe there's a problem. They realized that the data is correct, and it's not delivering indeed. So they kept leading the investigation with the product team, and they realized that nobody ever implemented multi-image ads on Facebook Lite. So they did, together with the team, with the data scientists, they did an assessment to understand what is the potential impact here, and they realized that it's probably close to $500,000 incremental revenue per day, which is not too bad, right? So they took that opportunity to the product managers and said, look, like, this is a big opportunity, we need to work on that. It was probably one of the biggest opportunities for the team at that moment, and that immediately impacted the roadmap of that product team for the next quarter or the next half. Most data professionals would just build the dashboard, as I say, and hand it over to somebody else, not show the curiosity. Even if they saw something, they would shy away from driving the conversation and pushing people to actually do that, and would struggle with influence. So this is just one example that hopefully will inspire you to think about how you can lead. Another example is a data engineer who started working on a product that's called Product Catalog. Product Catalog is a product that enables advertisers who have multiple products they want to advertise to create a catalog of their products. So if you think of Amazon, for example, Amazon have billions of products they want to sell, like these shoes, this microphone, etc. And they don't want to create billions of ads. What they want to do is to send Meta all their entire catalog of products, and then send signals saying this person is interested in this product, and just create these ads dynamically. There are two ways you can create a catalog. The first one is a UI, user interface, and if you have a very small catalog, like let's say you're a chocolate shop and you only have 20 or 30 different flavors, you can upload the CSV with your catalog and the different products and descriptions, and that's it. If you're a bigger advertiser, then you use the API to upload your catalog and to manage that integration. So this data engineer started working with the product catalog team, and they wanted to experiment with the product to learn how it works. So they tried to create a few catalogs in the UI, obviously, because that's the easiest way, uploading files, and it was very clunky. Like, the whole experience didn't work, and it was failing for all sorts of different reasons. It was slow. There were a lot of issues. So they started reporting these bugs to the engineers, creating bugs on the system, and the engineers basically practically ignored that. So the data engineer went to the software engineers and said, hey, why are you ignoring that? There's issues with the UI. And they said, oh, the UI is not a priority for us. They said, how can it not be a priority? I mean, that's how people create catalogs, right? That's insane. And he said, only when I opened their top line, the gold dashboard, I understood what the problem is. This team's measuring their success on number of items in catalog. And obviously, if what you're optimizing for is the number of items in catalogs, then you only care about the big advertisers, and the big advertisers don't use the UI, they only use the API. So from their perspective, they're just not incentivized to work on the UI, and it's not a priority. And the data engineer came to me and said, I'm really worried about this team. And I said, why are you worried? They said, because the team is building the wrong things. And I said, oh, okay, tell me more. And they explained all of that. I said, okay, cool. What are you going to do about that? And they said, oh, I've already spoken with the data scientist and the PM and the engineering manager. And I've proposed a different metric for the team to be measured on, which was something to the effect of number of advertisers powered by catalog or something like that. So it was something that takes into consideration both the number of advertisers and also the number of items in the catalog to create the right incentive to the team. It was May, towards the end of May, so it was just before H2 planning. The team actually accepted this person's analysis and they accepted the new metric. And when they did all the road mapping exercise, they were thinking, okay, how do we increase the number of advertisers powered by catalog? And their entire team's roadmap looked very, very different from the half before because they changed the top line metric. So again, this person is not a product manager, they're not an engineering manager, they're just a data engineer on the team, but they showed the curiosity, they asked the questions, they took ownership, they understood the business, they didn't shy away from the hard conversations, and this is how they led. Hopefully hopefully these examples help you see a different way you can operate as a data engineer. Life can be very different from what we saw in the beginning, where you all sat down. It can be a very empowering role. And please stay connected, LinkedIn, YouTube, and yeah, any questions? Raise your hands and somebody will get you a microphone.
Hello, can you hear me?
Not yet?
Thanks a lot. I'm wondering, as data engineering leader, do you have any tips to create such culture in data engineering team where people can speak up? Because by nature, some of them really are not used to that. So I'm just wondering if you have any tips to share.
I think, first of all, as a leader, you need to encourage your team to do that, and you need to reward this behavior. So when people actually do that, just like when you're training a dog, when people show the right behaviors, they need to be given a treat or something to see that this is the right behavior and it needs to be celebrated. So that's number one. You actually need to encourage that, and you need to give that as an example. You also need to expect that from people. So as a manager, when I saw people working on things, I would ask them, why are you working on this? And they would say, oh, because my PM asked me to build it. And I said, okay, cool, how are you going to use it? And they said, oh, I don't know. And I said, okay, can you please go and find out and come back to me with an answer? So this is a way to force these conversations, right? Not in a bad way, but just expecting that, plus rewarding that when the right behaviors happens, I think creates the cycle that helps people improve. I don't know if you have anything else to say on that.
Yep, you took the words out of my mouth. I think for me as a data engineering manager, the one thing that I would that I'm encouraging my people, just like Shachar said, is to have these conversations, ask questions. Like if you get something, make sure that you understand why you're doing it. Make sure to ask the person that opened you the ticket, the bug, whatever it is, like why do you need that? Well, bug, obviously you know why, but if you open the ticket for a new table to move data from one place to the other, like why? What is it going to serve? And doing this encouragement really creates this culture as you do it more and more and more. Yeah.
Any other questions? Another thing you can do, by the way, is, I have this template that I've shared with my team, which is basically, I'm doing this because that, and as a result, I'm expecting this, okay? So forcing them to fill the gaps, and they need to complete that sentence. So whatever you ask somebody, what are you working on? They say, oh, I'm working on this dashboard. You say, okay, why are you doing that? Because of this. Okay, what are you expecting that will happen as a result? And you can literally create a spreadsheet with 3 columns, right? I work on because as a result, I'm expecting, and ask them to basically fill, like for the tasks they're working on or the big things they're working on, just fill up the template and say, and this, in some situations, they may not have answers. They may not know why they're doing something or what will happen as a result of doing that, and that's okay. But it encourages having the conversation.
I think as data engineers, a lot of the things we work on are like platform optimizations, things like that, where the business impact isn't immediately apparent, but they're also really important because if we don't focus on them down the line, we'll have problems, right? So do you have any tips of how to bridge that gap and realize the impact earlier?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like sometimes getting the buy-in from management is really hard, especially as data engineers and data engineering managers. And one thing that my CTO recently told me was that I don't believe in technical debt. Like, I believe in providing impact to customers. So if you can tie your technical debt or your optimization to an impact to a customer, it doesn't necessarily have to be a new feature. But for example, we can provide something faster to the customer. We can provide, something will be more scalable, so we need to spend less on maintenance. These are also things that you can tie essentially to revenue of the company, to impact to the customers, and then can help you convince. But I think just citing technical debt as a title is really bad for management because they wouldn't necessarily see what is the benefit of doing that, and it will be discarded. It's easiest to discard things when you call it technical debt. So yeah, tying things in the right way to impact on the business, whether it's financial, adding things to customers, this is the easiest way to get this buy-in. Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'll add to that people, first of all, people are obsessed with ROI and with measuring the results of what they do. And not everything can be measured. Like, what is the ROI of the air conditioning unit in the data center? I mean, I don't know. I also don't know that we need to quantify that because we know we need air conditioning to cool the servers. Like, this is obvious. So you don't need to be obsessed with that and measure the ROI for every single thing that you do. But you do need to make sure that your work is a portfolio, right? And some of those things will be table stakes that you need to do, but some of those things also need to be things that solve business problems. And if 100% of the things that you do or the work that you do is, these table stakes or these low-level things, and you don't actually know how to tie that to business value, it could potentially mean that you don't know what are the biggest problems of the business right now. By the way, I did create like a free online course that I'm sharing with people. It's email-based, and you get an email every week with a concept and exercise and something that helps you perform the exercise. And in week 2 or 3, I think, I force people to go out and ask and find out what are the biggest problems of the business, right? So who are like your key business stakeholders, and find out what are their top 3 biggest problems. So like your COO or your chief product officer, what are the top 3 things that they care about? And then ask yourself, okay, so I know this is the number 1 priority for my chief product officer. How does the work that I do connect to that? And I think that doing this kind of discovery work is something that a lot of data professionals miss. They just wait for the work to come to them, and that's already like too late and at the wrong level. So if you're interested, it's free for now. It's on my LinkedIn profile. Just check it out, sign up, and do these exercises. It forces you to have these conversations, to get out of your comfort zone. And hopefully that will help. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.